Right, time for some news. Now, the head of local government service, Dr. Nana Addo-Arthur, wants a probe into alleged cases of internal auditors conniving with contractors to raise certificates for non-existent contracts. Now, he says prosecutorial agencies must ensure appropriate steps are taken to nip such practice in the bud. He also charged various regional coordinating councils to intensify the monitoring and evaluation to protect the public purse. Dr. Addo-Arthur was speaking at an annual congress for National Internal Auditors Association in Kumasi. Nana Asensu-Mensah has more in this report.
Dr. Addo-Arthur bemoans the conduct of internal auditors who are mandated to check public officers from corruption are the ones perpetrating such acts. He said, though some people are doing a good job, the country is losing millions of cedis to corruption by others.
Very well. There are cases in Volta region, there are cases in Eastern region, there are cases, and those are the cases that I'm referring to. But investigations are yet to be conducted. Let me commend some of the internal auditors for the good work that they are doing in the local government service. At the same time, there are some bad nuts within the service, and I think that it's an area that we need to win the fight. One has to do with some internal auditors conniving with some finance officers, engineers in the system to process certificates of non-existent projects. This is criminal.
On the back of newly created regions, he advises internal auditors and other civil servants to brace themselves up for massive transfers.
From tomorrow and Friday, we need to start with the postings. RCCs need to be in place. And when we're talking about Regional Coaching Council, the key staff includes auditors, coordinating directors, auditors, HR, procurement, environmental health, directors of agric, and others. And so I was telling them that, look, because we need staff to go to these 6 new regions, some of you will definitely be affected.
President of the National Internal Auditors Association, Michael Ivy, wants government to review conditions of service of members as part of measures to stem the tide on corruption.
There is no justification for an internal auditor to engage himself in any corrupt act, because there is a legal provision against that. So there is no justification. In any case, internal auditors are human beings. When pressed to the wall, some of them may engage in that. We cannot justify that. Push to the wall is the lack of independence, no logistics, poor remuneration, and the person is married, he has children, he must pay school fees, he can't pay the children's school fees. Maybe he wants to improve himself, he can't pay his school fees. The person is likely to involve himself in some of those things if the person is not strong. So those are the things we should guide against.
Nana Asensu-Mensah reporting.
Now to the Ahafo region, where 17 people have been remanded into prison custody by the Gwaso Magistrate Court for engaging in illegal logging activities in the forest reserves. They're members of a group which invaded the reserves to fell trees without permit. Now, they face charges of unlawful entry, conspiracy to commit crime, obstructing public officers, and felling of trees without a permit. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin learnt a bit more about it in this report.
I can say that somebody was arrested with petrol in the, a Kia, Mongo, into the forest reserve. Are you going to burn the forest, or what are you going to do?
Those are happy moments, but now a rather sad expression when one of their own was grabbed by the police. Relatives and friends looked on helplessly as a combined team of military and police dispatched the suspect to the Gwaso Magistrate Court. It follows persistent confrontation between the youth and security personnel. Take a look at this. The suspects pleaded not guilty to all charges preferred against them, for which they were remanded into prison custody to reappear on April 1, 2019.
We are bent on smoking them out of the forest reserve. And whoever thinks that for the benefit of his own pocket, want to enrich himself at the expense of the environment, we will not sit here and entertain that. This is a warning, a signal that I am sending to all those illegal operators in the forest reserve. They better leave the reserve at their own interest before I bounce on them. Because this time round, we will search for them in the forest reserve, arrest them, and prosecute them.
The Forestry Commission's reforestation program has been plagued by illegal chainsaw operations.
Here, last year alone, we planted over 400 hectares of what? Area plantation. Why do we do this and then allow somebody else to go and then destroy what we are doing? If we can't keep what we have already been gifted with, the natural forest, and then now we have to be planting. Goso Forest District is bent on sending everybody out of the reserve.
Personnel are working on a proposal to establish a jungle in the reserves to sustain anti-logging operations. Godfred Kwashiga is Goso Forestry District Manager.
With this jungle welfare in the forest reserve, I don't think anybody will have the courage to enter the reserve. That is the long-term plan that Forestry Commission is undertaking together with what? A
report by Mohammed Nuruddin for JoyNews.
Now, back here in Accra, the Ghana Armed Forces are demanding continuous provision of modern logistics and resources so they can keep up with the ever-increasing spate of crime the country is being confronted with. While applauding government for the provision of equipment to aid in their operations, Chief of Defence Staff Lieutenant General Obed Akwa said timely retooling will sharpen the readiness of the Army to defend the country. He was addressing the 2018 West Africa Security Service Association socialization at Burma Camp here in Accra.
We acknowledge that the past year was quite challenging in terms of our responsibilities vis-à-vis the limited resources and other constraints within which we had to operate. However, as always, we persevered in applying our capabilities in a manner that ensured the attainment of our mission. Throughout the year 2018, we continue to offer our services to ensure the internal security of the nation and to contribute our quota to the developmental efforts of Ghana. We also continue to participate in international peace support operations. As you are all aware, crime and insurgency have become more sophisticated worldwide, and it takes constant training, good modern equipment, the development of pragmatic strategies, and the cooperation of stakeholders for the Ghana Armed Forces to keep pace with these challenging dynamics. In this regard, we applaud the demonstrated commitment of the government under the leadership of the President and our Commander-in-Chief, our sector minister, in retooling the Ghana Armed Forces to enhance our operational capability, even though I dare say that yet more would be required. We also appreciate the cooperation from other sister security services, governmental agencies, the diplomatic corps, allied foreign governments, as well as local and international private corporate institutions.
Meanwhile, Defence Minister Dominic Nitiwul says government has put before Parliament a $100 million loan agreement to improve conditions at the military training school and various garrisons across the country.
I laid in Parliament a loan of $100 million US, which will change the face of the Ghana Military Academy attaché. It is expected that Mr. President will cut the sword next month. We expect that after 1 year, when you visit the Ghana Military Academy, it will be a different military academy that you will see there. Mr. President, part of that money will be used to construct befitting housing facilities and accommodation for our troops, particularly those of the other ranks, across all the garrisons of the Ghana Armed Forces. In Tamale, in Accra, in Sekandi Takrady, in Sunyani, and in Kumasi. Mr. President, your troops have been deploying across the world in peace support operations over the last 1 year. Mr. President, you were here to donate to the Ghana Armed Forces 140 vehicles as a first part, and the second part you will do in May. Mr. President, the Ghana Armed Forces were involved in several operations: Operation Conquer Fist, Operation Kudilagu, Mr. President, and Operation Gongo. Mr. President, you tasked the Ghana Armed Forces through the Ministry of Defense to send the Ghana Air Force aircraft for overhaul. I'm proud to say that the 2 Mi-17s that you asked us to send for overhaul have returned and are in service.
Now, the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Reverend Professor Michael Quay, has had cause to once again complain about the seriousness MPs attach to their parliamentary duties. This was after he met a virtually empty chamber when proceedings began on Thursday. Of the 275 members of Parliament, only 15 were seated. The Speaker once again, like other speakers before him, only admonished them on the need to prioritise sitting at the plenary over anything else. There's more in this report.
The Parliament of Ghana virtually empty at 10:15 a.m. Thursday. The 275 parliamentarians were expected to be seated at 10 a.m. to question the Health Minister on some pressing health concerns. Ironically, Parliament's gallery for the public was full. Citizens had taken their seats, ready to observe their MPs do their job, except there were only 15 MPs, with the majority represented by 12 members, with the remaining 3 being the minority. This is not the first time the chamber has been deserted by MPs. In the last year, only 4 MPs were present in the chamber when proceedings were due to begin. But at each time it happens, the Speaker only fumes.
We have an appointment with the good people of Ghana, particularly the young ones who come to listen to their parliament. I will pray that we take this obligation seriously. If we take our nation seriously, we should take this obligation seriously. Because by the combined effort of all of us doing our bit, that it can be progress and development in this country. This is a very important imperative. And please tell police we need to do our duty at the plenary before anything else. Honorable members, please take note.
The absentee MPs then show up, except the Speaker would have cause to fume again over absenteeism. The Health Minister, Kwame Menu, who was also due in the House, failed to show up. Majority Chief Whip Kwesi Amaewhule told the House the minister could not be reached for explanation.
Their names in the pending week. So I'm not too sure. We are still trying to get in touch with him. If in the course of the day we are able to link up with him and he's available and he has the answer, the Speaker may permit him to answer the question in the course of today.
Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, however, chose to highlight the failure of ministers of state to show up on the floor when they are needed for questioning.
They should take their response to your call to Parliament
in the exercise of oversight in the name of parliamentary questions more seriously, particularly so that you have a minister assisted by deputy ministers. So even when the minister is not available, we should have a deputy minister stand in his stead. But to have this zero vacuum, no minister, no deputy, Speaker, because of his affability, won't hold you. The sins are not yours. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, maybe we'll get Mr. Speaker's directive on this matter.
Vice Chairman of Parliament's Constitution and Legal Affairs Committee, Alexander Aban, on his part explained MPs have other commitments which often conflict with their parliamentary functions.
It's been a perennial problem. We may have to look at the process, the people that we take to Parliament. You see, it appears to me that in Ghana we don't have career politicians properly so-called, right? We seem to have businessmen, people who are doing some business and other things. Probably they get to a certain point and coming to Parliament becomes one of the many steps for self-actualization and not necessarily coming to do the work. So we must even look at even the grooming process, right? Sometimes you are there in a constituency, somebody may have traveled abroad somewhere, he comes with money, right? Before you realize, he just jumps into it. If the delegates find him worthy, not necessarily that he has the best of intentions, but probably because he has been able to pay his way through, before he realizes he's in Parliament. And it becomes just to say, he just adds it to his CV and he may not even be part of the actual lawmaking process in the House. It's a serious matter.
This is the umpteenth time MPs have showed up late. Maybe sanctions could deter them or maybe not. Joseph Opokugapo, JoyNews.
Now, before we go, it's a tale of women mobilizing for community action after decades of ignorance led to many sicknesses through open defecation. We take you now to Nakong Saboro in the Kasana-Nankana West District of the Upper East region, where the women team up with the men to construct household latrines in every home in the community. This is their effort to combat open defecation. Now, here is a report by Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert Sore.
It may be a job thought to be a preserve for the men, but for these women here at Nakong Saboro in the Kasana-Nankana West District of the Upper East region, it is a job they have come to love and to do with passion. Together as a group, sometimes numbering up to 30 women, they construct these latrines from household to household within the community.
Any house, when you say you are ready for your toilet, all of the women and our husbands will go and help you for you to bleed your toilet. Because
Magdalene Tiose is a trained latrine artisan and leader of the women's group here at Nakong Saboro. With the help of other women, Magdalene can put up a latrine without involving the men. But at the moment, she is pregnant, so she is cautious about engaging in hard physical work.
I want this assembly to train more people, especially the women, to know how to bleed a toilet so that it can help us, because a woman, we suffer a lot. If your child is sick, the problem will come to you. So when the women know the work more, it will be better.
The men of the community have not left the women to do this alone. At the initial stages of constructing the latrines, the men often do the digging and lining of the pits. Moses Ali is also a trained latrine artisan.
We are building inside to up. We are do slab and covered, and we build outside. So some women give the water and the grass and many things.
The women fetch sand and water at the initial stages of construction, but some of them can also dig, build, and plaster walls. For many years, defecating in the vast open lands in this community was seen as a normal practice, but the spread of diseases like cholera was also frequent. The Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, CICOD, and WaterAid Ghana therefore started some advocacy work here at Nakong Saboro. Kennedy Abotiani works with CICOD and WaterAid Ghana.
There were no sanitation facilities, that is to say toilets. Not a single toilet was in this particular community. And our approach, which is endogenous development, we believe and use the physical, spiritual, and social resources that are in the communities to foster development. Community people were selected by the communities to participate in a training, and that training was for latrine artisans, to give artisans the knowledge and requisite skills to construct latrines for household usage.
2 years on, members of the Nakong Saboro community say they are seeing the benefits of using household latrines. The latrines prevent the spread of diseases in the community, and this keeps us and our families healthy. That is why we all come together to help put up latrines in the various homes.
I want to encourage my fellow women so that they will help our husbands to build a toilet so that it will make our children's sickness to go down.
One of the targets of Goal 6 of the Sustainable Development Goals is to, by the year 2030, achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all, and to end open defecation, paying special attention to the needs of women and girls and those in vulnerable situations. The story of Nakong Saboro perhaps goes to show that the role of women in Ghanaian communities is key to achieving this target. Albert Sori, JoyNews, Nakong Saboro, Upper East Region.
That's amazing. A pregnant woman coming out to do very, very hard work to modernize her community, when most men I know won't come to work even when they have a cold, right? Makes no sense to discriminate against women. Anyway, that's it for the news.